Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So Sheep taken out there by Creator. So Creator going to be playing the winner of Solar and Skilla. So we'll see what happens there as we jump into our series.
And here we go. Spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Oceanborn, we have our South Korean Protoss player. The red Protoss representing Twisted Minds. It is Stats.
And up in the top left, it's our blue Protoss here from PT Heroes. It is a Goblin. Of course, the Platinum Heroes. Also, Young Yakov was representing Platinum Heroes. So, quite a prolific organization.
Yeah, they're a
third
team
place.
that's... Okay,
Oh, go ahead. Tell us about Platinum Heroes.
yeah, I was going to talk about how Platinum Heroes, they picked up a lot of players recently in the lead up to WTL. World Team League did start up a week ago or 2 weeks ago now. And yeah, Platinum Heroes, they just went around and they bolstered their roster, picking up players like Young Yakov. They got Nickeract as well. And they even picked up some Polish players. So it's really cool to see Platinum Heroes investing quite a bit and taking WTL very seriously. Are you still with me, Papi? Are you?
Oh, sorry. I'm still here. I accidentally muted myself for a moment there. So I was saying, let me catch my train of thought again. So in these kind of weekly tournaments, obviously it's quite rare to see, or rather often they're regional. When you have this kind of crossover matchup, particularly in these matchups that don't feature a Zerg player, when the Zergs don't care about ping as much, they're not they have ping privilege because they just kind of A move.
Yeah.
So in these more micro-intensive matchups, I mean, do you often see a change in the styles? I mean, talk to me a little bit about that. Like, is there a lot of changes from the players, or do they generally just try and keep it to a standard play style, or is there anything there that's kind of worth diving into?
Definitely, but like before we do, for a moment there, am I even talking to NXZ right now? Is this NXP? Like, with that mic mute, have we kind of switched personalities because Zerg players A moving? Like, are you? Suddenly we've shifted to like the Protoss propaganda, Papi. Oh my god! Like, I didn't know you were that much of a Goblin fan. You've just been.
White VIP. Here's the thing. Okay, I've always been self-hating. All right,
Okay,
you know what I mean? Like. I've always been an apologist, kind of a self-hating Zerg player.
Okay.
So I have to be honest and acknowledge the fact that Zerg is much better on ping compared with the other two races. And I do think, still that being said, even without ping, you obviously can't win against Protoss with Zerg at the moment, as Lambo demonstrated.
Good. Okay.
And even with ping, Young Yakov also demonstrating the same. So, you know, there's still a bit of, look, the difference is we're talking about facts here, Light VIP, okay? The facts are Zerg is better on ping, and the other facts are it doesn't really matter, you'll still lose against Protoss.
Oh, there it is. Okay. So I just had to make sure that like you weren't, abducted or at gunpoint or something. I just had to make sure. Okay, we're good. But yeah, I mean that was the case back in the day, definitely, where playstyles would be favored or not. But I do know that a lot of players have been actually practicing on ping, like just because StarCraft has shifted to more of an online kind of esport, with kind of with the less offline events occurring and more focus on online events as well. We have been seeing, players get even a little bit more comfortable and practice a lot more as well, which has been really impressive to see. And we'll see how this all comes together, because Goblin, he's taking up, and we are not going into Blink, by the way, with that Twilight Council.
Oh my god, it's the Dark Shrine. He's going for Dark Templars. Warp Prism as well. Or is it... No, there's no way he's going to build Archons with that. That would just be insane. What am I even talking about? Okay, so Goblin here. So... there should be detection though, for stats. He's got the Robo Bay on the way, and he's going to have an Observer presumably coming out next. So I'm not sure how effective this is going to be. I like Stats' position here. a third base though already for Goblin.
Yeah, third base is on the way. Hallucination from Stats is going to be confirming that third base. As we dip in towards the main, we could even get eyes on the Dark Shrine as well, and it looks like we will slip into the main. We get eyes on the Dark Shrine. Now, what's important about DTs in this matchup is that even if you have detection, even if you scout, DTs, they can still actually get a surprising amount of damage done. As of recently, players like Hero, Max Pax, they've been doing such an amazing job at just going for, like, mid-game DT harass. Every now and then you just send 1 or 2 DTs in, and even if you have a cannon in position, they can still get a surprising amount of damage done.
Yeah, I mean, the DTs they can pick off, but probably a cannon's going to take quite a few shots to kill a Dark Templar, and probably you could easily kill 3, 4, 5 probes before a single DT comes down, and I can see how that would be very annoying to deal with. And you can see Goblin, he's taking his time here. He's got the Warp Prism in position. He's not in a rush. He knows he's been found out by that hallucination. Isn't able to see too much with that hallucination, Goblin.
Yeah, he does confirm that the Twilight Council's still researching, so he already knows that Blink is done, so Charge should be on the way next. At least he does confirm that. We're settling into our 3-base setup from both sides, and no major aggression yet. Both players are just kind of refining their armies a little bit here. Goblin's advantage here is his immortal count, as Stats did go for a later robo.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. I think both players here probably just going to be a bit defensive, I think, for the next little while. They look like they're both happy to kind of tech up. As I say that, those 6 gateways going down for Stats, and he did research Charge, or he is researching Charge, so possibly is there like some kind of +2 attack on the cards here?
Yeah,
+2 timing attack.
Yeah, I mean, we are building up towards 8 gateways here. Bearing in mind that up until this point, Stats was only on 2, so he was actually being quite greedy. He had very few gates to work with, a very small army here. But now that we're on 3 bases, we can now afford a greater production to work with as we're taking up towards Archons as well. Meanwhile, Goblin is the first to take his 4th base, so Goblin just taking a more passive approach for the time being. Stats may have the opportunity to push out, and I'm kind of reading that, especially with the Prism now on the way for Stats.
Yeah. I think with the Archon tech as well, it really indicates that he wants to go for it. So he's happy with his early game. I feel like he's kind of pushed his edge a little bit throughout the early game here, and he wants to try and convert that into an attack. So we'll see what he does with it. He may choose to play a bit more passive as he does bring down the 4th base. I do think that Stats is going to be the first one to make a move out here on the map with these Archons. So we'll see what he chooses to do. I don't think he's going to need to commit too much though. I think it's just going to be poke around, see what he can get done. Actually, as I say that though, Goblin also coming out. So we're going to have a meeting of the Protoss mines here in the middle of the map.
Yeah, they are going to be clashing. Goblin on top of that ramp. We can see Stats rotating around towards the left-hand side, trying to find another way in. I believe Goblin, he still has not quite caught a glimpse of the main army yet. Goblin's still just skirting around, and we'll see who is the first to pull the trigger, who is the first to push into the other, as Goblin is still heavily reliant on a Stalker-based composition. With Immortals, yes. Stats has a little more Zealot, so instead, as he does work his way towards the left-hand side.
Oh my god. Okay, that looked so good for Goblin, and then all of a sudden he lost a lot of Stalkers when he did not micro very well, and all those force fields from Stats, both Immortals going to get picked off here. There's only Blink Stalkers left. Okay, there's only Blink Stalkers left. You know what I'm saying? Alright!
That's all we need, Poppy. As we focus on all the results, we dive on top of the arm. The prison went down, which means we cannot reinforce, we cannot juggle our units either. And with Blink Stalkers, we should be able to break through these Archons and the Immortals as well. Stats, he has to get the hell out of here. He's trying to reinforce manually from Warpins back at home, but he may be losing that final Immortal.
Zealots are not getting onto the Stalkers either. I mean, that was a very messy fight. Started off, looked like Goblin caught Stats out of position, then he accidentally, I guess, maybe he's targeted down the Warp Prism, was it? Is that what he chose to go for? Yep. So I suppose that was an intentional move, but he didn't quite pick off the Immortal and then lost quite a few Stalkers in trying to finally finish that off. Stats catches the 2 Immortals, but then all of a sudden there's so many Blink Stalkers and Goblin. Kind of looks like he's got the edge, but he has lost all of his high-tech units, actually both players. Looking very low tech at the moment. Oh, yeah, exactly. Very, very sketchy looking fight for both players.
It is just gateway versus gateway at this point, and Stats did have an upgrade advantage, but +2 is about to finish up for Goblin. Is going to be tying up that upgrade count, dancing with the army, diving on the army even, and Stalker-wise, Stats, he just doesn't really have enough. The Zealots are getting annihilated.
Yeah, I think that was a nice trade there for Goblin, but I mean, I say that the supply has equalized a little bit. Zealot's warping in here for Goblin. Is he making anything other than gateway units? Right now in the production tab, he does have an Immortal out, but it doesn't seem like he's remaking any more. And he does have the double forge, so in the end, he will end up with better upgrades here than stats.
Yeah, he will
I'm not
have
sure
those.
that's going to matter.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to come down to the engage here overall, but I do still favor Goblin's position with his army. We'll see if he can catch that Immortal. The Immortal here is a backbone for stats alongside the Archon, and he's able to hold his own for the time being, just dancing, poking, prodding with the army. Goblin is taking a 5th base behind this, just maintaining his economic lead, and really it's on stats here to make something happen himself. He's still, I feel like, slightly behind.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, the supply is slightly in the favor of Goblin, but both players have established quite a decent economy, slightly high probe count for Goblin, but both players have a very low-tech army, and you feel at some point someone's got to make the decision here, make the move to start taking up for something a little bit more powerful, but so far they're happy to handshake the Blink Stalkers. They're fighting through this brush here, and it's going to be very messy.
Yeah, I mean, the Immortal for Goblin putting in so much work. We dive on the army, focus out both Immortals here of stats as well. Both players using their high-tech units, but all in all, it looks like we barely have an even Stalker out. 25 versus 25. Stats, he breaks through.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, stats somehow at the end there, those Zealots filtering through from with the warp in, and it's like, it seems like whoever comes first, it looks like at first it favors them, and then the other player, or the Goblin, all of a sudden he has a fewer Stalker count, and stats is turning on his micro ability. I mean, he's not losing any. Okay, as I say that, he does lose a Stalker, but a very nice fight, and those Zealots are going to be so hard to deal with.
Yeah, with those reinforcement stats, he barely breaks through. He gets another shield battery, one, and then the other is going to be going down. And Goblin, he's losing ground here to stats. Another massive wave of reinforcements. Where are the weapons for Goblin, by the way? He has the resources, but alas, it's just coming in too late.
Zealot in the back here on the Stalkers is going to be nice. It's really going to be this next Zealot warp in with the Immortal here for Goblin if he can hold on. I mean, stats though, he does have a bigger gateway unit count. He is the Immortal. This is the anchor. He needs to keep this alive. That's going to give him the defender's advantage. It's going to give him something to hold on to in this game. Zealots warping in on the right side. Those Stalkers did blink. Those Zealots are getting on them as well, but there's some Zealot for stats as well. This is such an intense game.
Yeah, very intense here. Reinforcements are being cleaned up from stats, at least the Zealots, but he's just relying on pure Stalker. Looking at the armies here, stats, he's got 21 Stalkers at the 18 of Goblin, but Goblin has that Immortal. The shield battery was not replaced, by the way. We focused on the Immortal.
God. GG. Stats so decisive there. I really don't know how he turned that game on a dime, really. He just said, all right, we had a fight there. It was, you were too ambitious. I was too close to your base, and I got a nice trade there, and you didn't have time to solidify. I mean, that was such a close game. The army values so close the whole time, and just somehow stats able to break through.
Yeah, that was that one big fight that Goblin was able to take quite well. It was the moment when he took down the Prism and the Immortals, and he had a massive supply lead. You can even see it there. But unfortunately, Goblin didn't really press his advantage. He was, after that fight, he just kind of backed off. You know, he was a little bit more passive. He was waiting for his own reinforcements, and that did allow stats to recover. That did allow him to just reinforce, rebuild, and somehow, some way come back there in that game.
Yeah, very close game. I think that really shows that both players here are quite... I think Goblin looked more than fine in that game. I think there was... really just one kind of fight there, and then that was enough. It wasn't even that bad a fight, but Stats was just able to carry that through with the reinforcements. It seemed like his warp-ins were just like somehow just maybe the Zealots being on the same side as his Stalkers. I'm not exactly sure, but some subtle decision-making difference there, and Stats able to carry that through for a win.
GG, well played. With that, Stats does take a lead in the series, but it's a best of 3, and Goblin has a chance here to bounce back, to force the ace match, and to bring this into an extended series. The vetoes, or the lobby, is made, and we're diving into game 2 on Archeone.
I'll keep what? Sorry, what did you just say?
What do you call it? Are you one of the people that says like Al Capone? Is that what you say?
Al Capone is how I'm going to say it going forward. That sounds so sick.
Let's go.
Let's go, baby. Puppy, tell me about our player in the bottom left here.
I'll tell you about him, Bobby, because spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Alkion, we have the Red Protoss, representing Twisted Minds, leading the series 1-0, one game away for advancing on into the round of 8. It is Stats.
Really nice game there from Stats, and his opponent, definitely no slouch himself, representing the Platinum Heroes. It's our Blue Protoss player, Goblin.
As we're settling into one of the older maps in the map, well, I mean, I say older, still pretty new. I don't know how you felt. To be fair, I don't know when you came back, but it was a little bit jarring to get a fresh map pool so soon. I was so used to and so like, I was just so used to and so ingrained with the idea that we have a map pool for a year. I was personally caught off guard when we got a new map pool so soon after the previous one, which I'm overall happy with. You know, it's great to see the game being revitalized as often as it is.
Well, I was just upset to see that, you know, I'd just gotten used to these maps, this previous map pool, and then to discover that all the maps I were vetoing, they were the ones that were carrying over.
True.
And then they were introducing like 6 new maps that I wanted to veto.
Yeah.
And I was like, hang on a minute. So, this map, actually a good example.
You vetoed this map?
I had some frame rate issues on this map.
Oh.
So it's not so bad. I'm actually playing it now, but initially I was having. Are both players proxying? What's going on? Is it because they're going to take the gold base, or is Stats looking for proxies?
Yes. So Goblin, he did mine through the minerals. It's very common to proxy on this side of the map. But Stats, upon seeing that the mineral patch was missing, by the way, he knows, hold up, your probe must be on this side of the map, and he's on the hunt. He's looking for the would-be proxy.
He sees a probe. Okay, this is. I think Stats will definitely find this. It's just a question of. He's just gonna spot it. Oh! He cancelled it.
Yeah, he does spot it. Goblin cancels the Stargate in the end, going for a Nexus instead. Now, this is where things get very chaotic because Stats, before he scouted, he threw down a Robo. He threw down a Robo on one base. This can very easily turn into one base all-in from Stats, and we could end up seeing a really weird scenario where Goblin would have to be on the defensive instead. I'm really curious if Stats throws down a third gateway or if he expands.
I'm kind of interested. I think the Robo, if he does, okay, it is going to be an expansion, so there isn't going to be a big all-in coming through from Stats. He's going to pick up his pylon. He knows there's nothing too weird going on. A sentry coming in, so Stats is going to be relying on that to get some information. And likewise here for Goblin, the same. Both players not quite yet aware of what the other is up to. It's going to be Blink here from Goblin. Another pylon coming down, so it really looks like Goblin wants to get aggressive this game. He said, alright, I tried my best in the nice solid macro game, and I've decided I'm bringing it to you here in game 2, Stats.
Yeah, we'll see what he does decide to bring to him as the pylon is finishing up. Meanwhile, the natural base is under fire by the Stalkers. Stats with 4 Stalkers. He has a bit of an overwhelming army here, and Goblin can't really contest against this, by the way. We're going for a proxy gateway across the map. Yeah,
exactly right. I think that he's going to go for a big blink attack with that gateway to help him reinforce. Ooh, I still think this is good for Goblin though. He's got, he does have one less Stalker though, as I say that. And the Stalkers are the real DPS in the fight.
Hey, the Prism is here. We can reinforce on the front line. Stats is going to get a kill in this Nexus.
Do you think so? I mean, he's warping in sentries. He's just going to try and block out the Protoss.
Oh. Yeah. Goes to the force field, reinforces the Stalkers, the Nexus is going to go down.
Oh my God.
GG gets caught just like that, and Stats takes the 2-0.
Damn. Stats, he's just crushed my heart, my dreams. Everything I wanted for this series. Stats, he's so decisive. I think that's what was so impressive there. It's just the ability to say, oh, you made a sentry instead of another Stalker. Sorry, I'm winning the game now. That's what just happened. He just said, yep, I've got 4 Stalkers to your 3. You've got 1 more sentry. I don't care. You know.
Yeah, just really fluid play there out of Stats, because it wasn't just that, right? It was also with his robo opener, even though he was expanding with that robo instantly going for the prism, right? So we can reinforce, so we can be aggressive. It looked like he did recognize that, of course, the opener of Goblin was a little bit shaky because of the cancelled tech, because his tank was so delayed, he was so vulnerable, and Stats, it looked like he smelled blood in the water. He knew that there was an opportunity for him to be aggressive, and it just snowballed into a win.
Yeah. So decisive from Stats. I really, really liked that game from him, and he looks like he's playing very well. Also into the top 8, and some other results here on the bracket. Clem taking out Firefly. It was Solar advancing over Skillis in a 2-1, so that's pretty close. He'll be playing Creator. I think Creator looks quite good. I don't know if you've seen, there was a Creator against Rogue series recently that Creator looked like he was in top form in. He absolutely kind of smashed Rogue, so
Yeah.
I think he's gonna be a possible favorite, even I might say, against Solar. So we'll see how that plays out. Dark, of course, against Beyond still going on.
Yeah, I believe that Creator Rogue series was like last week or the week before in ESL Asia. So yeah, it was really cool to see. I casted that series, did cast it. But Creator, he was definitely in form. And what I will say though is that Solar is a different beast, right? Solar, he is a bit of a step up, I would say, from Rogue. Regardless, I'm sure it's going to be an amazing series, and we're going to be following that. If you head on over here to the Korean server, as Stats is waiting for his next opponents, we'll most likely be looking to dive into Solar versus Creator into Stats as well.